Hey YouTube, how's it going? Nerdy Narwhal here, and I'm back today with another 6-scale action figure review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Asmus Battle of Helms Deep Aragorn Deluxe Edition figure. Now, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, then you know I'm a total stan for Asmus, for them as a company, their products, and it's primarily because of how they communicate with their fans. I don't think there's ever been a company in 1/6 scale making licensed figures that I've ever felt I had as much of a say in their decisions and the decisions that they make or have been listened to, quite like how Asmus does with their products. They're constantly asking for fan feedback, for their opinions on what they should do. And more often than not, they're listening to what the majority of the fans say, within reason. Now, way back when, at the start of this channel, I did an Asmus comparison to ACI, and this was for the 2 Aragorn figures that we had from either company up to this point. In my opinion, the ACI Aragorn won out just a hair, and primarily because of the materials used and the head sculpt, which I thought was still superior to the head sculpt that Asmus managed to get. And coming into this guy, having a look at it, I do think that Asmus has improved the quality of materials used. And they have definitely improved on that Aragorn head sculpt. But is it the best Aragorn we've gotten yet? Which was my hopes when I made that first video. Well, let's check this out and find out. First of all, as you can see, this figure comes with an absolutely awesome diorama display, which is why it's in my display case today, and not the light box, like how I usually do my reviews. This diorama display is absolutely monstrous, and it really looks cool if you have a case or however you display your figures. If it's big enough for this display, then absolutely do get it. Now, that said, it is super heavy, made out of solid, what is this? It's rock, cement, plaster, I'm not sure, but it's pretty heavy. So do make sure that your case is made out of some pretty thick glass. I'm not sure. This is the only case I've ever owned for my figures, so I know that it can hold it. Even so, though, I did opt to put it on the very bottom shelf, just in case. I didn't want anything cracking. But this thing is a beef, and for the extra, how much more did that cost me to get this version than to get the regular version? I don't know. It was still under 300. It's like 280 something all in. And you get this marvelous base. And to me, that was worth it. Absolutely. You get this display base. It comes with this torch. It's all modular, so in the box, you have to take it apart and plug it all in. And the box for the base is actually bigger than the box for Aragorn himself. You get this honestly oversized Uruk-hai helmet. I know that their heads might be bigger than the heads of our regular humanoid figures. They did have all that makeup on, but this helmet is definitely oversized for 1/6 scale. That's more like a 1/4 scale. But it's still cool to get, and nobody's going to be wearing it. It's just going to be on the ground there, so works for me. And you get an additional Aragorn head sculpt, which is this one that he has on right here. With this head sculpt, he's looking forward. There's no real damage or anything going on to the face. And with the regular edition, you get this head sculpt where he's looking just off to the sides. Let me see if I can get it nice and close, if it'll focus there. Doesn't really want to focus, but they're both essentially the same sculpt. This one just has a little cut on his cheek like he's been fighting, and he has that eyes looking off to the side, which honestly I think it works quite well. I don't think we get enough figures with subtly dynamic sculpts. And what I mean when I say that is when it's looking off to the sides, it just invokes so much more emotion than your basic straightforward doll stare that most 6 scale figures have. Which means there's a whole lot more that you can do with the figure on display if you're going for, not over the top dynamic action poses, but just little subtle things that you can do. And I might show that off towards the end of the review. Anyways, let's hop in and take a look at the figure itself. I'm going to push it back here. I'm going to take him off the display real quick. You can see it stands and balances pretty well. This is the first time that I've seen the new Asmus Atom body being used. And I like it quite a bit. Asmus's proprietary body before this was the KP01, old caustic plastic body, which, they worked 50% of the time. They had some gnarly ones in there. I'm looking at the Nazgul, the Ring Wraith. But you know what? When the bodies were working, they were working. That said, they were still dated compared to some of the best bodies on the market. The Damn Toys body, the True Type, which is constantly getting improved and evolved for various figures. So I was pretty happy to see a new Atom body. Let's go over the articulation on that real quick. So it has a double ball in the neck, which is going to let you get a pretty good range of motion on that head. It's only really, what is the word I'm looking for? Hindered by the hair there. But, it does all the stuff that you'd want your 6 scale head sculpts to do. It's connected to a joint in the neck there. The neck is a super soft rubber, so that's really not going to get in the way of anything. The shoulders are actually connected by a ball that just plugs in there into the shoulder. If you've ever had the Hot Toys Lone Ranger Tonto figure, it's just like that. There's a ball that's connected to the arm that goes into the shoulder of the base figure there. And that works quite well. It's ratcheted, if you can hear that. So it holds its pose pretty well, but it poses smoothly and easily. We have nice double jointed elbows there, giving us exactly the range of motion that we need. And it's your standard 1/6 wrist peg. Just to show it off, he can support the weight of the sword. Really, no problem. You're not going to have much problem posing him. Now, here's my one gripe, is with the outfit on as well, and the way that the ball shoulders work, you can't really get the arms going across the body too much more than that. So if you want that double-handed holding the sword pose and him swinging down to hit somebody with it, just a quick pose there, but you're going to have to bend the arms a little bit. You're not going to be able to get them straight. When I've pushed the envelope a little bit with that shoulder, my right shoulder just keeps on popping out of the socket. Now, I could mitigate that with, I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but you get a little plastic bag and you stick it in the joint and then you pop the ball in. That makes the joints a lot tighter and a lot more durable. But, I'm not really going to worry about it. Doesn't really bug me. So now let's get to the torso of this guy. We've got, really not a lot of any crunch going on in the torso. It all happens at the hips where it pegs in. So keep in mind that. Still works though. Now let's get to the legs. Legs will go up easily, 90 degrees, no problem there. Aragorn can kick. They actually have a goodly range of motion going backwards, which is pretty unique. I know that true types don't really do that. They don't kick back quite as much. And finally, Asmus Toys gives us the double jointed knees. I have been wanting this since, when was the first Asmus? 2016, 2014, Gandalf the White. And finally we've got it. The double jointed knees. They also went with a split cut here at the boot. So we actually get some ankle rotation, which really helps for those dynamic poses. Voila. Fold those down a bit. Perfect. I'm happy about the split cut in the boot because the last Aragorn we got from Asmus just had solid plastic boots. I still prefer the cloth boots on the very first ever release of Aragorn that we got. But these, they do admittedly have more detail as they're sculpted, better paint going up there. And like those cloth boots, you can get a good dynamic pose with them. The hard plastic boots, they really just didn't do it to me. They didn't do it for me too well. All right, I'm going to take this off real quick and we'll go in for a close-up of that new Aragorn sculpt. It's for whatever reason, it's hard for me to really visualize just how different this sculpt would come across if we were using rooted hair instead of sculpted hair. I don't mind the sculpted hair. It'll make this figure less of a hassle to take with me places to get some outdoor pictures with or whatnot. I don't have to worry about restyling it on the fly. It's less hassle overall. And it is a good sculpt. The two sculpts are essentially the same, I think. Maybe not, but they're pretty darn close. Slightly pursed lips. The big difference is the eyes. And the actor who played Aragorn just has such an impossible sculpt to capture in 6 scale. In 1/3 scale, I think Prime 1 Studios even had a hard time with it. So when we get an attempt like this, and from this angle, I guess, with this lighting, I can definitely see Aragorn in there. It's just not spot on, but it's such a good and valiant effort. Viggo Mortensen, he has a 5 head, real big forehead. And the first time Asmus tried to capture that, it just looked too big. So there's such an uphill battle of not just getting the actor and getting his likeness nailed in scale, but also getting it to look right to the eyes, especially a guy like Viggo Mortensen, whose face changes, his look changes throughout the movies. If you look at him in Return of the King, and the way that his hair was styled, the entire structure of his face looks really different than it did in the very first movie, when he first met the hobbits. His proportions just seemed wider, and maybe he gained a little weight. I don't know, in between all those movies. Maybe it was just the hairstyle and the outfit that did that. But this guy's a hard likeness to catch. So did Asmus do it justice? Yeah, I think it's a great effort. It's not perfect, and when you change the angles on him, you can definitely see that. But this is Aragorn. You can tell. And it looks like Aragorn in my collection. So I'm happy with that. Going into the chainmail here, this is, just the standard stretchy sort of fabric material that a lot of companies, mostly Asmus, use to make it look like chainmail on their 6 scale figures. And it's working for me. It does look like chainmail. Would I have preferred a real metal garb for it? Yeah, I think that would have been cool. That would have been pretty next level. And I think Asmus does do a pretty good job of pushing the envelope with their construction at times, but that probably would have raised the price on this figure quite a bit. And it probably would have made it not release for a very long time, much like with their Crown Series Gandalf. So we got this figure pre-order. I pre-ordered it last summer, and it's already here, start of the year. So, I'm happy it's here. I could have waited a bit longer, but that's okay. Most of the other figures use this faux chainmail, and this guy looks fine with it from a distance. That's still obviously a chainmail shirt that he's wearing. I love the fabric of the leather jerkin or coat or vest that he's wearing. If you go deep in here, it has all these fine little cracks and super fine stitching, and yeah, that just looks really good to me. The fabric looks thicker than it is, and that translates to this scale really well. They did a good job there. And the fraying and tattering at the end of it also looks quite natural. And sometimes, you know, when you're trying to make something look frayed or tattered through factory production, they really lose a whole lot of the natural look to it. So they got this down pretty good in this figure, and I noticed that. And thank you, Asmus, for not making it look like someone cut it with a pair of craft scissors. All right, down to the pants. These are definitely my favorite Aragorn pants. They actually have texture and wear. They look like some type of leather, probably. All the other Aragorns we've gotten before just had these cloth pants that, you know, ACIs were terrible, honestly. They had some nice wear going on. Oh, shoot. They had some nice wear going on, but they completely failed to make the pants extend into the boots. So they were basically just these dirty capris, and I changed them out for just another pair of regular black cloth pants. That's okay. It worked. But these pants actually have some nice worn leather look to them, and they're not constrictive at all. As you saw in the posing tutorial, the legs did everything that I really wanted them to. There's a look at those feet planted on the ground real quick. Not hard to get a good pose. Let's look at the sword here real quick. I'm actually going to take it off his hand, and I will bring it up to the camera. So, slide that out. I'm going to borrow this Aragorn. Thank you. This is your standard Asmus Aragorn sword sculpt. We've seen it before. By the way, the company is releasing a 6-scale Narsil that they're sending to all of their fans for free. So if you've purchased Asmus toys from Asmus, they're just making it for you as a thank you gift, which is so cool. I can't wait to get a 6-scale Narsil. And it's going to definitely go with this guy. So, anyways, there's that. It looks good. It has some yellowing going down in there. So it's a dirty sword. Well used in the heat of battle. It's a great sculpt. It's large. It has some heft to it, but it's not anything that the figure can't handle. And he grips the sword very well, so I don't need to wrap leather around the handle, which, as some of you may know, is one of my collecting pet peeves. I hate it when 6-scale figures can't grip their weapons tightly. So, yep, there's the sword in there. The belt looks pretty darn good. It looks like leather, real leather from a distance, which Asmus has used before. However, they went with rubber this time, and I don't mind the lower quality material as long as it still looks good. In fact, I'd actually prefer rubber because it's not going to start peeling and look like booty in a couple of months. Let's go in for a close-up on the belt, see how close I can get to it. There we go. So up close, you can tell it's not real leather. And there are a couple of seam lines in mine, which isn't the prettiest, but, you know, I'm not scrutinizing the figure on a daily basis. I'm just kind of checking out, taking it in as a whole. Look at the paint apps on the buckles for those greaves. Those are good. That's crisp. Okay. Put this back. Let's get a look at his other accessory. There we go. So this blade here, you'll see I've wrapped a little bit of plastic around the blade itself to slide into the hilt. and that's because it is quite loose in there. But the elven dagger itself looks pretty nice. It's got all the details going up into it, the elvish script. It's shaped well. It's in good scale. Asmus is always one in the accessories department for me. I think just because their accessories are better scaled than the ACI Aragorn was. His sword was a little bit too small. His ranger sword. And his dagger looked good, but it was also a bit too small. The only thing is the Asmus one didn't come with quite as many accessories. Up until now, I guess. Now we have this whole base and the torch, and it's awesome. Alright, there's one final thing that I wanted to take a look at. That's because it seemed quite strange to me. But if you look at the hands, they are pink. I'm not sure. Maybe they were trying to go for a blood spray look, or maybe he just has a ton of blood rushing to his hands because he's been battling. But the hands are so much pinker than the rest of the sculpt. And I don't know what's going on with that. And the pink kind of rubs off easily, revealing a regular hand underneath. It's not really an issue on this one, but they are kind of an odd color. And let's look at the ring real quick. The last Asmus Aragorn we looked at, the ring was not as finely detailed as I'd hoped it would be. In fact, it was just kind of a blob. Since then, Asmus has actually started giving us removable rings for a lot of their figures, and that's looked a whole lot better. If we go over here, Bilbo, the one ring is actually removable. But Aragorn's ring had a goodly amount of detail with the two figures moving around the green gem. And I think Asmus did a pretty good job of getting that on. It's not removable. I almost wish it would have been, even though Aragorn never takes it off. But it wraps all around the finger quite nicely and isn't just a strip of paint. And yeah, I think that the fine sculpt of that ring has finally improved over the ACI version. So anyways, guys, let me know if I missed anything in looking at this Aragorn figure. I'm going to get him posed up here for one last little pose. I just kind of like to get him walking down the stairs a little bit. Looking forward, looking good. And, nothing too crazy going on here. When I use the other head, I get him kind of at an angle, walking down like that. But I'm just using this head, looking straight forward, so. And that is the new Asmus Aragorn from the Battle of Helm's Deep. There we go. Let's adjust that camera so we can see him one more time. It's an awesome figure. And I think especially in today's market, the value that you're getting for under $300 with this super impressive display base it's well worth your money. It's worth it if you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings license or J.R.R. Tolkien in general. So I can absolutely give this a recommendation. I know that this limited edition was limited to 500 tops, and I believe the figure itself, non-limited edition, is 1,500. So you have 2,000, if my math's correct, of these Aragorns in circulation right now. And once those dry up, we'll see happen to this Aragorn what's happened to every single 6-scale Aragorn figure before. Except for the old Sideshow one, I guess. And it will get expensive. It'll get a lot more expensive than the under 300, the 280 or whatever that you spent on it to get it directly from Asmus. So if you want it, don't hesitate. Sell something, snag it. It's a great piece. It looks awesome on display. I'm going to spiff him up a little bit more and get my final display look for the day, and then move him back to where he goes in the collection. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this review. If I did miss something, or if you have any other questions about the figure, please do let me know. I love getting a dialogue going down in the comments. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep on collecting. Bye-bye.